Bayle the Betrayer isn't just a bruiser. It looks like he can also be a deadly duelist in the offlane when built for tankiness. Let's not forget, the Predecessor team themselves said he could even play into a support role. Today, we're walking through 6 items, my ideal augment, and my perfect crest that form the backbone of any tank Bayle build, showing how each piece contributes to his durability, teamfight presence, and survivability in Predecessor 1.9. Thinking about this tanky Bayle build, my approach was to focus on items that provide health and armor primarily, but also to account for Bayle's built-in Omnivamp. These items don't enhance Bayle's abilities per se like the video I did a few days ago. These 6 items consistently give Bayle increased health, tankiness, sustain via Omnivamp, and a solid offensive presence thanks to physical power. Everything you need for a true frontline tank. The augment I recommend is Frenzied Fighter. This is the one where removes the 20-second cooldown on Bayle's Berserk passive. Out of the 3, I would say this one is the most suited for a tanky build. The other 2 are more bruiser based. As for Crest, I'd go for Razor Back if I was running tank Bayle. Its passive is literally what Bayle kind of embodies. You're going to be staying on the front line, surviving heavy bursts because you know you have that 40% threshold to kick into second gear. The 6 items I have are not in any order. They aren't meant to form a build, even though I think it would be a pretty solid build. I think each of these items are good additions to any tanky Bayle build, and that's what I'm going to be explaining here. So let me start off with the first item, Citadel. Now this item gives Bayle a strong mix of health, armor, and offensive stats, so as a stat stick it's very well rounded if you are up against a physical power offlane enemy early game. The passive makes it so you have essentially 40 physical armor every time you trade, and 45 armor whenever you get a visit from the enemy jungler as an offlaner, which is up there as a defense item. But then it also comes with a respectable chunk of physical power and the same amount of health as some bruiser items. All of this for 3100, let's not forget. There's another passive that reduces the armor of nearby heroes by 20%, and now Citadel basically gives you physical penetration as well. And solid choice at any point in your build when you could use some physical armor. Maybe not for any dedicated tank hero like Steel, but definitely for Bayle. My second item provides its own benefits, and I even mentioned this item in my other Bayle videos, but it is so good, I think it deserves a spot on any bruiser or tank Bayle build. Legacy adds more health, magical defenses, and tenacity. Its passive triggers at the same point as Bayle's Berserk passive, which if you're running Frenzied Fighter, has no cooldown now, and on top of the passive it cleanses and gives 3 seconds of CC immunity, which is a lot by the way. This item is a good counter to Citadel if you're up against a mixed team of magic and physical enemies. They're the rare instance of items that give physical power, armor, and health all in one. And yes, the trade-off is going to be ability haste in a lot of these items, but I think that is a fairer trade-off for a tank build than a bruiser build. Now again, these items are not in any order, but these 2 items plus the one we have coming next is actually a solid build path. Aegis of Aggor provides health, some physical power and crit, but as a tank, we aren't getting this item for the power or crit. This item makes all items that have any sort of armor on your build scale up to 25%. When Bayle dips under 40%, he becomes extremely hard to kill. Late game, the benefits from these items, you can feel it in how hard it is for the enemy team to wipe you out. If you had built this item after Citadel and Legacy, you're going to be a pretty well-respected tank because nobody would be expecting you to have extra health, extra armor, as well as physical power in all 3 items. You usually get 2 out of 3 of those stats in any given item. Now this next item, I wasn't going to add it on this list, is definitely not a first item pick for a tank, but for a more experienced player, this item definitely gets a spot on a tanky Bayle build due to his reliance on Omnivamp. Rapture combines health, attack speed, and Omnivamp, and no armor, but it gives him a form of constant sustain. When you have an armored hero with high health and even a little bit of Omnivamp, they're able to counter an enemy that has high amounts of penetration by healing for a portion of the armor ignored. 8% is a decent amount, and you pair that with Bayle's Dear Howl and you have a decent chunk at your disposal. Another item that helps with sustain and a popular pick with bruiser builds, but a good pick on a Bayle that's built for being on the front line. Draconum gives health, armor, and instead of giving health, it improves healing, which could work well with tank items that have base health regen that will inevitably end up in your build. Most people do that and then have this item second item on their build. With Bayle, he's able to take advantage of that passive even as a first item. Maybe not to the same extent as someone like Greystone, but it's still a good solid pick when you're not in dire need of extra health yet. A good tank Bayle will need the typical stats of a tank, maybe even more so since he's somewhat of a hybrid, but they will also need to play to his strengths. He's very rewarding to play with around the 40% mark because the Berserk passive is activated at that threshold. So this last item sacrifices his physical power for the ability to do that more efficiently. Void Helm adds health, magical armor, and ability haste. Its passive increases healing received by all sources by 20%, which is nothing to scoff at. And when this is paired with Draconum, you're getting nearly 50% increased healing. The potential for a player who can play around Bayle's Frenzied Fighter augment and an item like this is too good to leave out. But that does it. 6 items, the Frenzied Fighter augment and Razorback Crest, designed to make Bayle nearly unkillable in the offlane. Now bear in mind, I'm waiting for Bayle to be released just like you guys. These items seem like a good pick based on what we have seen so far, but who knows? Make sure to let me know what you agree with in this list. Till next time, guys.